Welcome back to our deep dive into the philosopher Plato, one of history's greatest thinkers. In our first episode, we explored the historical sweep of ancient Greece, from its early city-states to the chaos of the Peloponnesian War. In episode 2, we dove into the cultural and literary heartbeat of Greece, its epic poetry and tragedies, which gave Plato the raw material for his ideas. Today, in episode 3, we're zooming in on the political events of ancient Greece during Plato's lifetime, roughly the late 5th to early 4th century BCE. This is a time of war, betrayal, and upheaval in Athens, and it shapes Plato's philosophy in profound ways. Picture a city teetering between glory and collapse, where democracy is tested and one man's death changes everything. Let's step into the political storm that moulded Plato's vision. We begin in 431 BCE, just a few years before Plato's birth. Athens, the cultural jewel of Greece, is at the height of its power. It's a bustling democracy, with a mighty navy and grand temples like the Parthenon. But it's also locked in a bitter struggle, the Peloponnesian War against Sparta. This isn't just a clash of armies, it's a clash of worlds. Athens is open, innovative, democratic. Sparta is disciplined, traditional, oligarchic. The war drags on for decades, and it's not just fought on battlefields, it's a test of ideas, of how to live. Athens, under leaders like Pericles, starts strong, but hubris creeps in. They overreach, picking fights they can't win, and the city's confidence begins to crack. Plato's born around 427 BCE, right in the thick of this war. He grows up in a wealthy aristocratic family surrounded by Athens' intellectual buzz, but also its growing tensions. The war's toll is everywhere. Families lose sons, trade falters, and a devastating plague sweeps through Athens, killing thousands, including Pericles. By the time Plato's a teenager, the city's golden age is fading. The war becomes a grind, with neither side gaining a clear edge. Athenians start to question their democracy. Is it too chaotic? Are the people too easily swayed by slick orators? These are the questions swirling around young Plato, planting seeds of doubt about the system he's living in. Then, in 404 BCE, everything falls apart. Athens loses the war. Sparta imposes a brutal peace, and for a brief, terrifying moment, democracy is replaced by an oligarchy known as the 30 Tyrants. This is personal for Plato. Some of these tyrants are his relatives, like his uncle Critias. The 30 rule with an iron fist, executing rivals, seizing property, and spreading fear. It's a reign of terror, and it lasts about a year before democracy is restored in 403 BCE. But the damage is done. Plato, in his early 20s, sees firsthand how power corrupts. The 30s' cruelty and the war's devastation leave him sceptical of both oligarchy and democracy. He's starting to wonder, is there a better way to govern? Now, let's talk about the event that changes everything for Plato, the trial and execution of Socrates in 399 BCE. Socrates is Plato's mentor, a gadfly of a philosopher who roams Athens asking tough questions. Why do we follow tradition? What is justice? What makes a good life? He's not writing books, he's challenging people in the marketplace, making them think. But after the war, Athens is in a fragile state. The restored democracy is paranoid, eager to prove its strength. Socrates becomes a scapegoat. He's accused of corrupting the youth and disrespecting the gods, charges that are really about politics. His questioning makes people uncomfortable, and some link him to the 30 tyrants because he taught figures like Critias. In a public trial, a jury of Athenian citizens sentences him to death by hemlock. Imagine Plato, probably in his late 20s, watching this unfold. Socrates doesn't beg for mercy. He defends his life of questioning, saying, "It's better to die than to stop seeking truth." His death is a gut punch for Plato. It's not just the loss of a teacher, it's a betrayal of everything Athens claims to stand for. Democracy, which prides itself on freedom, has killed its wisest man. This moment crystallizes Plato's distrust of the system. He sees how crowds can be swayed, how fear and politics can trump reason. It's no surprise that when Plato later writes the Republic, he argues for a state led by philosopher kings, not the fickle will of the masses. But the political drama doesn't end there. Athens in the early 4th century is trying to rebuild, but it's a shadow of its former self. The democracy limps along, haunted by its mistakes. Meanwhile, other powers, like Thebes and a resurgent Sparta, flex their muscles. Plato's watching a city that's lost its way, caught between nostalgia for its golden age and the reality of its decline. He's also travelling during this time, visiting places like Sicily, where he sees other forms of government, tyrannies, oligarchies, democracies, all flawed in their own ways. These experiences feed into his philosophy, pushing him to imagine a system where wisdom, not power, rules. What's so gripping about this period is how it's a crucible for Plato's ideas. The Peloponnesian War shows him the cost of ambition and division. The 30 tyrants reveal the dangers of unchecked power. And Socrates' death proves that even a great city can fail its best citizens. When Plato founds his academy around 387 BCE, it's not just a school, it's a response to this political chaos. He's training thinkers to rise above the mess, to seek truth and justice in a way politics never could. His dialogues, like the Republic or Gorgias, are steeped in these events, wrestling with questions of power, morality, and how to build a better society. The political turmoil of Plato's Athens isn't just ancient history, it's a mirror for our own time. We still grapple with the flaws of democracy, the sway of public opinion, the risk of power falling into the wrong hands. Plato's response wasn't to give up, but to dream bigger. His philosopher king might sound impractical, but it's a challenge to us all. What if our leaders valued wisdom over popularity? What if we built systems that prized truth over expediency? These are the questions born in the ashes of Athens' defeats. As we wrap up, think about Plato, a young man watching his city tear itself apart, losing his mentor to a flawed system, yet choosing to fight back with ideas. It's philosophical discourse as critique and resistance. That's the spark that lights his philosophy, and it's what we'll explore in our next episode, where we'll dive into Plato's life and writings, tying together the historical and cultural backdrop we've covered so far. If this story's got you hooked, leave a comment. Do you think Plato was right to distrust democracy, or was he too harsh on Athens? Subscribe to the Philosophy Zone for the next chapter, where we'll meet Plato himself and see how he turned chaos into timeless ideas. Until then, keep questioning the world around you. See you next time.